Hello everybody, this is Astocky here, and welcome to another episode of the Real Kerbal Space Program campaign. Without further ado, I'm going to get ready to jump into a mission, but before I do that, I'm just going to bring up my forum thread. Hasn't been approved yet. Hopefully that'll come up really soon, and then I can start pointing directly to that, but for now, I'm going to bring up the campaign forum post by Xlord StimpyX, and I will show you the mission I'm going to do and kind of explain it a little bit, and then I will jump to it and show you how it works. So without further ado, to the forum page. Okay guys, so here we are. The forum thread title is Stimpy's Campaign Homebrew Rule Set plus Videos. There's a link to his YouTube channel here. He's only just recently put it back up, so I'm going to link to it in my forum thread as well. Plus I'm going to make some changes to it, but basically you start off with 100,000. Easy. You get rewarded for each mission, plus you get 50% of the cost back of your ship in any kind of rewarded thing. So, say the ship cost 100,000, the mission reward was 50,000. You would get 50,000 for completing the mission, plus 50% of the cost of your ship back for successfully completing it, which means you get 100%. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Coming down. Yeah. Wow, that sounds really complicated. Yep, stuff the complicated stuff. Basically, here are the missions. You've got a suborbital flight, an orbital flight, a landing flight. Now, landing, roving, and bases can't happen on Kerbal. But otherwise, you have all these targets you can pick from. So if we wanted to do an orbit around Kerbal, the prize would be 40,000. If we want to do an orbit around Tylo, you would get 12,500 plus the 40,000. So you can see how it kind of works. Now the second time you do the mission, you get half as much. So you only get 20,000. You still get the same amount for Tylo though, because that's like the bonus for going there. So that's something you're always going to get. You can buy reusable vehicles. That's pretty cool. And you also have these achievement bonuses. So the first time you achieve 20 kilometers, you get 2.5 grand. The first time you achieve 60 kilometers, you get 5,000. The first orbit you achieve, you get a bonus of 10,000. So your first orbit, or your first suborbital flight, could get you 20 plus 2.5 if you only go up to 20 kilometers. You know, it's still suborbital. Although I think this one here is meant to be out of the atmosphere suborbital, whereas this just sets the altitudes. So you could potentially get out of the atmosphere, which would be 20 plus the 60, so you get 25 plus half of whatever your ship was worth back. This whole debris thing gives you some penalties, plus you can get crew death if you explode, plus you can have your crew die horribly by asphyxiation thanks to the life support mod. So lots of different kinds of things can happen, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a simple first mission. I'm going to be aiming to achieve an orbit which is worth 40,000. It's around Kerbal, so there's no bonus. I'm not going to do any kind of reusable vessel, and I'm going to get the 10,000 achievement bonus, so I'm going to get 50,000. Now my aim is not to have any debris fall on land. Everything has to fall in the ocean and then have no one die. So that's pretty much what I'm going to aim for. So 50,000 for the win. I'll see you back in a second in the game. Back soon. Okay guys, back again, ready to go. So start the game. Resume our save game. Now let's kick this thing up a notch to the rocket division. Now I'm not going to use anyone else's craft from before. I'm going to give this a brand new name. I'm going to give this the name Orbit 1. It's going to be its whole job to get up to orbit and then come back. It's just going to take one Kerbal, so it's going to be dead simple. Now for those of you who are interested, again, once my forum thread comes up, the mods that you really need to use for my campaign if you're going to be following along are Deadly Reentry, Ferram's Aerospace Research, the Remote Tech Probe Pack, and the Ioncross Life Support. Remote Tech and the Remote Tech Pro Pack and the life support. Now, the Ioncross and Ferram's Aerospace Research don't really play nicely together, so once again I've edited the config files to make it really easy for you guys if you want to do the same thing. That is just too big because that's a docking port. There we go. So remember, I'm going to be getting 50 odd thousand back for this, so I don't have to be really tight. I do though need a heat shield, because without a heat shield this whole thing is going to end horribly. Nope, that's a big decoupler. We want a little one. Little decoupler. Perfect. One little decoupler. Now, the mission I'm setting myself is to get into a 100 by 100 kilometer orbit. Now, is there a shorter version of that? Indeed, there is. Perfect. So I want the most efficient engine I can get now. What's your efficiency like? 390. I mean, it's no nuclear engine, but I also don't want to get the huge cost of the nuclear engine. This is the big engine, and the big engine is cheaper than the small engine. These numbers make no sense. Someone really should fix that. What's yours? 300. Now I also have the home pack part, I think it's called something like that, and it adds these little radial engines which are fairly efficient, but they're also hideously expensive, so I'm just going to go for the most standard, most basic. Okay, no, we don't want to do that. So this is going to eject the heat shield and pop the chute. This one here is going to pop everything else off except for the capsule. That's going to fire the engine. At the same time as we fire the engine, just give me 1 second. Darn it, can't do it. I was hoping to turn the music off. Not a problem. Okay. There we have that. Now we're going to want I think probably one fuel tank is going to be enough. Just want to give ourselves our nice, as efficient as we can get vectored engine. Now, where is our little thingy? We don't want Mech Jeb. Our Kerbal engineer. He says we are going to have a total delta V of 4,586 meters per second. That is cutting it so close, because I'm going to need about that to get into orbit. Total cost is also only 7,000, so the total cost is actually really quite low, which I'm very happy with. I'm going to push that out of the way for now. So what I'm probably going to do is, what's the thrust to weight like? 2 at liftoff. So I'm going to take that off and throw some extra fuel in. So how are we doing now? 52, nearly 5,200. That's going to be perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now we're going to need some kind of stabilization. So I want the small fins. I'm going to give myself 4 of them. And that's a vectored engine. This little one's a vectored engine too, isn't it? Yes, it is. So I've got no control surfaces, which is good. How are we doing now? Still 5,100. I think this rocket is looking like a goer. So the total cost is 9,582. I'm going to write that down. 9,582. Now again, if this thing works, it's going to get me 40,000 for the mission, plus 10,000 bonus for the achievement. All I got to do is bring him back safe. Ooh, there's an extra 2,500 it's going to cost me for my Kerbal, but I'm going to get half of this ship cost back if it all works. So, hopefully, does that cost money? Yes, it does. That cost me money. I don't want that to cost me money. They're 200 each, so let's go for. Let's just go for one of them. 9782 is the number I'm going to write down now. So let's check our staging once again. Staging looks pretty good. So we'll save orbit 1. 1, 2, better not sue. 1.6 thrust to weight ratio though, that's actually pretty low to start with, so I'm hoping we're still gonna achieve all the things I want to achieve. Okay, we get rid of that. Switch ourselves to map mode. Get this all turned around the right way so we know what we're going to be looking at when we come back. Turn our resources on. Got plenty of oxygen now. Power up. Bob Kerman. That 2500 was to train Bob. Look at Bob, he's a party animal. Oh yeah. 3, 2, 1, launch. 3, 2, 1, launch. Yep. It's a steady climb. That's okay. We are hopefully going to get past about 10 kilometers with this thing. I'm going to start throttling back at about 200 meters per second. I started throttling a little bit early, I know, but that's okay, because I think it's going to be necessary. Now these fins are really fighting my ability to turn at the moment. They're really not wanting me to turn a whole lot at all. This is going to make for a very, very inefficient orbit. Should have put some control surfaces on them. I should have. The upside is that as we're getting higher and higher and higher, we can throttle right back, and we're going to be getting less and less these wings are basically going to be making less and less difference to how I move. So I should be able to slowly kick this thing over. Come on, slowly kick it over. There we go, now we're kicking over. Start thrusting back up. Oh yeah, and then we just need to work out some way to get it to hold there. Come on. What's our apoapsis up to? Come on. 60, 70. Like I said, I'm going to aim for about a 100 kilometer orbit. Okay, we're going to dump that first stage. Now that first stage is going up above 90 kilometers, so it's going to burn up in the atmosphere. We're going to fire off the second stage now, and then cut it off. If everything goes well, yeah, we're up to nearly 100. Let's just see if we can get that smack on 90. So we got ourselves a little bit off 90. Okay, now that's a fairly reasonable orbit, I would say. Got that orbital debris. It's picking up a lot of speed, so hopefully it's going to cruise around and then just splash down in the ocean. And I'm going to get myself set up here. And add myself a maneuver. That is the improved maneuver node system I'm using. That's probably pretty good for now. Once I've done that, I will just stick with it. So what I can do now is I can click away from the maneuver node, and I can press O to bring up the maneuver node, which will bring up the last maneuver node in case I accidentally click off it. And it gives you a whole lot of other features you can use to adjust as well. So I got a 1 minute burn time coming up very soon. Oh, we're already on orbit map. I'm going to go to staging. I'm going to go to fine control now. using the caps lock key, because just a little bit too much control is what I have at the moment, and I don't want it. And I didn't install SAS. All I have is this little Kerbal engineer that does nothing. Oh, look at that. It's a little thingy. It's a little thingy on the bottom of my engine though that I don't really care for. Now, I have heaps of fuel, so hopefully this will be enough. Thrusting ourselves right up there. Hoping I have loads of fuel. Just going to keep following the center of that blue crosshair as much as I can. What's my current altitude? Currently 97 kilometers, so we're doing not too badly. Definitely not like we're going to hit the atmosphere like this thing is. That is going to hit the atmosphere hard. We, on the other hand, should be pretty good. 300 meters per second left. Beautiful, coming down nicely. 200. Start throttling back a bit. Off by 0.5. Cannot go wrong with that, so we'll press O to bring it up now and clear it. Now let's see how we're doing. Ooh. 134 by 62. Okay, that's not that good. Yeah, I thought I had this thing. I thought I had this thing under control, but somehow I must have got myself miles off. There you go, we're now on our way up. So now if we turn retrograde, we should be able to bring that 220 kilometer orbit down, because I want to bring that down to 100. There we go, so firing the engine. $99.5. That is certainly close enough for government work. Now this has a live Kerbal on it, so it doesn't need to have any kind of remote tech control, and you can see I'm slowly burning through my electric charge and through my oxygen, both of those things of which are bad. Fingers crossed I'm going to get around here and get myself to stabilize this orbit before I run out of power completely. Okay, so you can see up here I also have the Kerbal alarm clock on, because that thing is just incredibly useful. Now let's burn, we need to burn prograde for just a tiny little bit. There we go. What have we got? 99, 99.5. Let's just up that a tiny, 99.5, 99.9. That is close enough to a 100 kilometer orbit. And now that I have achieved said 100 kilometer orbit, I'm building up some carbon dioxide. I should have about 12 hours worth, so that's not going to be a big deal. I also am using my electric charge, and I think I'm probably using that faster than anything, so we are going to do the thing that any sane Kerbal would do now, and that is get the heck away from this horrible space thing. Now I could do the first EVA, but that wasn't a planned part of this mission. What is planned is not dying, so I'm gonna bring this periapsis over the top of Kerbal, which is great. I'm gonna bring it down to around about the 45 kilometer mark. So what I want to do is I want to bleed off as much of my orbital velocity as I can. So now the best way to bleed it off is to get in the atmosphere, and once I get in the atmosphere I'm going to be burning away and that's going to slow me down and hopefully reduce my apoapsis down so it's also within the atmosphere, so that I don't just basically skip back off. I think it's much more likely though that I'm not quite going to have enough, and that's why I have a lot of fuel left in this stage before I eject it. So what I'm going to do now is accelerate time. So for those of you who don't know, you can do that with the keyboard using the comma key, and with the period key, and then the comma key will drop it back. So altitude, there we go. We're now hitting the atmosphere and it slowed me back down. So now what I want to try and do is point retrograde. So it may not work 100% for me, but yeah, I want to try and point retrograde and just kind of hold it there. And what should happen is we should see how that's very, very slowly dropping. That's because I'm in the absolute thinnest parts of the atmosphere at the moment, but I'm feeling good about this. Wish I had the Kerbal Flight Engineer, because it would now give me a big page of all my orbital readouts. Mech Jeb does the same thing, but Mech Jeb is a lot more expensive, and this is all about pinching the pennies. So, how are we doing? Look at that. Coming down. I'm going to now use, it's just physical time warp this time, which is not anywhere near as good as the other super kind of time warp. And it's also much more likely to have things go wrong. But as long as I keep myself up in the fairly thick atmosphere while it's happening. You can see this is coming down. Because you want the shallowest re-entry angle you can possibly get that's still going to keep you within the atmosphere. So it's a bit of mucking around to try and get it exactly right. And you really need to be careful with your controls too, because you can kind of bounce yourself around a bit silly sometimes. Okay, we're nearly getting down to the lowest point, so we want to slow ourselves back down. So you can see here we are. Well, there's our periapsis, which is our lowest point, and it's dropping further, and it's at that periapsis that we want to burn. So the engine's not starting to overheat or anything yet, so we've still got plenty of, I guess, thermal capacity. We're still speeding up a little bit though, which is a bit disappointing. I was hoping that we would hit some more slowing down. But that's okay. That is dropping, and that is dropping as well. So we're definitely on the way. This is looking like it has the makings of a successful mission. I could clearly botch everything up really quickly now, because I still have 2,400 meters per second of orbital velocity to burn off. For those of you who are not familiar with that, that's Mach 7.5. which is about the speed that they're aiming to do with the current NASA probes that they're firing. So, no, not probes, like the hypersonic missiles that they're firing off at the moment. I think it's a Boeing project, and I've forgotten the name of it, but it's like the X-43 or the X-51 or something. It just did like a sustained 5-minute flight at Mach 5, which is really, really quick. Like the fastest ever for a sustained flight. So this is dropping. Come on. I mean, you can see that it's coming down quickly now. I'm going to speed up a bit actually, because this is boring. 4 times. So it's coming down. It's got to get to, by the time I hit periapsis, it has to come down below 70. That's the way this works. If that's not below 70, then I have to kick the engine in. And the idea is that we should basically not even get re-entry effects. If we get re-entry effects, it means, well, we should just get like the faintest hint of a wisp of re-entry effects. But what it could be is if we don't get this down low enough, it means I aimed a bit high. So I should have maybe aimed for 40 instead of 45. Yep, so that's still at 72, which means we're a bit too high. So what I'm going to do now is kick the engine in and just dump as much speed as I can so that we don't go back up. So what's the periapsis at now? It's in the planet. So fingers crossed we're not taking too steep a trajectory. I may have just ended that Kerbal's life then, because that's, should have aimed the periapsis to be like just above the surface so we were going horizontally. Yeah, because 10 meters per second is a bit too low. This could be painful. I guess the other option I have is just try and burn all my fuel and just try and get rid of all of my speed. Or maybe, while the air's still thin, I have the option to try and kick myself up just a little bit. Oh, it is not liking that. Okay, no, that's not going to be possible. I've hit too much atmospheric drag now. Maybe if we just gracefully burn off the speed. There's a reason why re-entry is a very scary thing in real life. It's actually quite a scary thing in Kerbal too when you're playing like this. You can see our fuel there burning itself away. One of the advantages to burning all that fuel, of course, is that it makes us a lot lighter, and lighter is less kinetic energy to slow down, so that's got to be a good thing. I don't know if it makes a scrap of difference in this game, to be honest, but it's got to seem like a good thing, right? I'm going to start thrusting up just a little bit to try and slow my descent down, but hopefully not too much that I end up kicking myself in something like that. Oh, no. Okay, what we've done now is we've just put ourselves into a horrible spin that I may not be able to recover from. You have every reason to be worried, Bob. Okay. Ditching that. Okay. Yep. Ditching that. Blunt end forward. Wow, we are dropping quite quickly. We have a heat shield, and heat shields are awesome, but we are really dropping quite quickly. The aim is to try and keep that at like 100 meters per second for as long as you possibly can while you slow down as much as you can. So I'm hitting re-entry effects already, which that can only be bad for Bob. Yeah, we're coming in too steep, Bob. This is going to be an expensive mission if it doesn't work, and all because I wanted things to happen too quickly. Wow, that's getting really red now. Ah! 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 Was all I could say. Wow. Wow. Well. That didn't go that well. Shouldn't have touched the engines. Should have just nudged it down until the apoapsis was like 70, and then I sort of kept coasting and not died. But no, dying is bad. But I think for those of you who watch my spaceplane videos, bad is where it's at for me at the moment. So let's go back to the tracking station and see that we have nothing. So what I'm going to do is go back to the campaign screen and tally up the losses, and then do a quick summary of how things went. So back soon. Okay guys, so here we are back at the mission thread, and the mission thread says pass mission, no. Did not pass the mission, so no mission bonus. Did we get an achievement? Actually, you know what? We made a successful orbit, so we did achieve the mission. Huzzah! We also didn't get any bonus there, but we did achieve our first achievement bonus of getting our first orbit. So we got $50,000. I mean, that's clearly not good, but it could have been much worse. So how did we do in the end? We did not get any of those, which is okay, but we lost a Kerbal. So to work out how much we got, I will bring in trusty calculator. So we made 40,000 by completing the first mission. We made 10,000 by getting our first achievement bonus. Our rocket cost us 9,782, and Bill Kerbal cost us 2,500. He also then cost us an extra 10,000 because he died. I hate it when that happens, but you know, it's what happens. He died, but he died a quick death. He didn't suffocate in the vacuum of space, so that was only a minus 10,000, not a minus 20. And I successfully completed the mission, so I get half of the cost of the rocket back. Half of the cost of the rocket, 40. We'll call that 4850 plus 4850 for successfully completing the mission. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to give myself that successful mission, that 50% bonus back for the successful mission, because I don't deserve it. Because he died. He was my Kerbal. He was my Kerbal. So that means I started with 100,000. I've made 27,000 from that mission, so I'm now up to just over 127,000. So hopefully you guys like where this is going. Hopefully I will eventually get to a mission where I can save a Kerbal life. But for now, I believe the tally stands at 1 success. So first mission, 1 success, 1 dead. And hopefully from now on what we get is success, 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 but no deaths. That's really what we're aiming for, and hopefully we can get that soon. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you liked the series. Make sure you check out the link in the description, or at least the link that should be in the description very soon, which will take you to my Kerbal Space Program forum that lists all the mods and all that kind of stuff for you. Until then, thanks for watching. Astocky out.